Thanks, bro.
Pretty heavy. All right. Before we get into this, just let me say something, and then I'm going to have Claudina come up here and she can say something. But I think that this is one of the greatest problems that a marriage can suffer from when it comes to the sexual aspect of it. For those of you that have been saved and you saved yourself until you got married, that's great. But I think that mindsets are still formed from outside influences, whether it's your girlfriends that talk to you or things that you read or things that you see and The View and this and that. And everyone's got an opinion about how sex should be, how often it should be. And we have to remember that just like when you get married and become a union of two people, you are two completely different people. What makes you think that you are like that couple over there, or that couple over there, or that couple over there? I'm me, Ruben's him, Daniel's him, James. We're all different men. And so when women get these expectations, and don't get me wrong, men have expectations too, this is where problems occur, is because then we start thinking about, well, you're not living up to my expectations, but where did those expectations come from? And so it's really important that as you are a couple together, I mean, the ultimate situation in the world is if both of you were virgins when you got married and you saved yourself until you got married, and all of those experiences and all of that learning and all of that thing comes from being pure. But the reality of it is how many of you did not save yourself until you get married? It's okay, raise your hand. Okay? There's probably 6 or so that are lying. Okay? Most of us didn't. And so those things you bring into your marriage, and this is where that things get twisted. And we think about things in a completely different way. And it's so important to realize that you're talking about you and him, or you and her. It doesn't matter this one's doing this, or this one's doing that, or this is the way that they treat. Everybody is, look, your situation is unique unto you as a couple. And so that's what I wanted to say. But I know you had something in regard. Come up here. Come up here. Come up here. Yes, you're on video. Smile.
Well, I wanted to address the part where they said that, you know, when there's problems in your marriage, it usually, you can tell in the bedroom. But I wanted to encourage couples in this, because you probably, just like anything else, intimacy is probably going to be an issue at one point or another, for whatever the reason. Because of children, because you age, because of illness, you know, it's very real. So, I don't want you to leave here thinking, if any of these things are affecting the marriage bed, whether it's stress, anxiety, illness, your health, whatever, I don't want you to leave here thinking, well, I have a problem in my marriage because the bedroom doesn't look the way that what I think it should look like. So be encouraged. You can work through it. It doesn't mean that if you're having a season where it's not looking spectacular at this moment, it does not mean you have a bad marriage. It just means that you have a normal marriage and you have to work through this. So don't leave here beating yourself up or beating up your spouse, because we do have seasons. And even in intimacy, there's seasons. So just know that if you are having issues in that department, may this lesson help you communicate and talk about it. So that's kind of what I wanted to say, because when I heard this video, I thought, oh no, people are going to leave here thinking, well, we're in trouble because, you know, it's not, you know, awesome all the time. No, you're not in trouble. You're normal. And you're experiencing what every marriage experiences at one time or another. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Well, I just had a concern mentalities out there that think, well, if you don't take care of business, then they can step outside of the marriage and take care. That's unacceptable at every level.
That saying of, if you don't feed your dog at home, your dog's going to go somewhere else.
Nobody should ever have that in their life.
Okay, so I mean the thing is that those situations, your marriage is not defined by your sex life. Marriage is a whole lot more than sex. I know for some of you it's like, oh no, it's not. Okay, I mean, you know, sex is a part of your marriage, but it is not what your marriage is defined by. Okay, because there's gonna be a point in time when you rely on a lot more in your relationship than sex. You know, knowing that other person is going to be there for you rather than be an outlet for your sexual frustration is way more important than that, what is it, minute and 20 seconds, whatever it is, you know. It's more important. I do like the fact, though, when you go into that situation and you do go into it, your number one priority should be satisfying the other person. And no, it doesn't have to be touchy. Well, it can be, but no, you're not commenting, Frank.
That's a safe one.
No, there's nothing safe with you. There's nothing safe. The thing is that if you both go into it, it's kind of like the relationship. If you both go into putting the other person first, and you carry that into the bedroom, and you put the other person first, it really is true that, at least from my standpoint, I will say that I am satisfied when I'm satisfied. It's a performance thing for a guy. Even though they say you shouldn't perform, that's a guy's like, oh no, I'm going to show her. I'm going to show her, right? Stop it, James. But it's all, you know, it's all about you want to satisfy your woman. Now, the woman, I don't know what your mentality is on that or anything, but if we both go into it with the attitude of, I'm putting the other person first, both people usually wind up.
It's like anything else in marriage. I'm sorry. It's like in anything else in marriage. You put your spouse first, whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's in any other area of your marriage. And just like every area of your marriage is going to take work and maybe lack in certain areas, this is no different. So it takes effort. It takes, you know, determination or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, you got to be the little engine that could. I think I can.
Well, and you also, if you're, just like anything else in marriage, if you're on the other end, where you feel like you're sacrificing because for whatever the reason your spouse is not able to or cannot because of illness or whatever the case may be, you need to be godly and pray about it and not beat up your spouse over it and shame them and humiliate them. You're not to do that, ever. Because that's not going to help.
No, it's not going to help. Okay, so let's I don't even want to use the word touch in this lesson, but let's try to process through this lesson, because we only got 15 minutes, but I think the conversation is more important than the lesson itself, because I want you guys to understand how important it is. And there are seasons and there are times. Listen, ladies, we know you get frustrated, you get PMS, you work, you got stress from jobs. Same thing holds true from a man's perspective. You know, maybe the man's stressed out about finances or you know, stressed out about the kids, or stressed out that you're stressed out, or whatever the case may be. And those all have an effect on, you know, your processing of making love. Because it's not about, you know, because based on what they're telling you, it's not about doing it. It's about making love. It's about expressing yourself. But we all know that, you know, the quickies arise, and you know, it's just, you're going to take care of your man, or your man's going to take care of you, and that's just something that's going to be done because that's what time permits. Okay? But there's going to be times when it's like, you don't feel like that. I know every guy's worst nightmare is to hear his woman say, I have a headache. Oh God, what did I do? Right? That's his first response is, well, what did I do? Because women don't get headaches. That's just an excuse not to have sex. Right? My wife gets migraines. No, she really does. You know, she really does get migraines. So, I don't know. According to Genesis, God formed the man from the dust of the earth and afterward formed the woman and brought her to man. If you look at Genesis 2:21, God caused a sleep to fall on Adam, and when he slept, he took one of his ribs, closed up his flesh, and then the rib said, God took the rib and made it into a woman, brought it to Adam. Adam said, now this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. And because she's called woman because she was taken out of man, therefore a man leaves his father and mother, be joined to his wife, they become one flesh, and they were both naked, and the man and his wife were not ashamed. Okay? What stands out to you from this account of man's initial reaction to seeing and being with his wife? How are things different when they disobeyed God? And you can read that scripture below. Well, let me tell you this. When God created man and women, they were innocent. They had the whole Garden of Eden in front of them. They had everything in front of them, and they were bare butt naked. Okay? They walked around the whole garden naked. Okay? And then what happened? Eve was tempted by the snake, the serpent, took the apple, right? And then all of a sudden, the knowledge came about them, and they realized that they were naked. And then all of a sudden, they were embarrassed, right? And they covered themselves up with fig leaves. So what's the difference? All of a sudden, this conviction comes on them of what's going on around them, and that embarrassment comes on them because they're exposed to it. But they were living blissfully prior to that. There was no. And so we have to have that same attitude in our relationships. It's like, I know, and this goes back, listen, there's some of us that are skinny, and there's some of us that are heavy, and there's some of us that are really heavy, and, you have to be okay with yourself. And when you have your mate, I understand. There's some people like to do it with the lights on. There's some people that like to do it with the lights off. And there's some people that just like to do it doesn't matter. Or maybe flicker the lights or whatever the case may be. Okay? Well, whatever it is that you do, you have to be comfortable. The light shouldn't be off because it's like, I don't want you to see me. You have to be comfortable with yourself, because if you're not comfortable with yourself, then how can you enjoy yourself? Mm-hmm. Or let your spouse enjoy you? Okay? It's true, right? So it's really important that you have to be comfortable with yourself. And I think what they were saying in the video about they're having better relations in their 50s than they were in their 20s is because it's like, it is so true when you get married and you are younger. It's all about performance. It's all performance. Yes, I love you and everything, but man, I'm going to do things to you like, it's just like, that's what it's all about, right? You're all about trying to impress the other person. You're all about, it's like, oh man, you're not going to be able to do anything but go to sleep. That's what your goal is. Y'all are really quiet. Are y'all tripping out or what? What? You're in that performance mode, okay? You're there, okay? But it's so much more than performance, because it's like, I think that rather than being a machine trying to attain a goal, it should be more of wanting to experience the other person. Quality. What's that? Quality. Not quantity. Right? Or both. All right. So, but you can't get done and be looking for the other person to go, It's all about just sharing yourself with somebody, and it may not be the same result every time. Oh, I know, here it comes.
I just wanted to say, I know it's difficult to talk about this, but it's important.
Hold on.
And for so long, and I know, and you guys know that Pastor Allan and I, we have been facilitating marriage ministry for almost 8 years now. And we want to talk about everything, because we want couples to have all the tools that they need to succeed in marriage. For too long, it was swept under the carpet. Nobody wanted to talk about it. It was taboo. And, people didn't know what to expect or what to think. But now that we're talking about it and we realize that God actually is the author. He created marriage, and he created intimacy. He created all of it. It's his idea. So we're just his creation, and we're playing out what he designed us as human beings to be doing for procreation and other things. So, I know some people are uncomfortable. I can feel it in the spirit that there's people are uncomfortable with the subject. But we have couples in here that are young, and we want young couples to understand that God created this. God said it was good. God, some of us older couples, we're still. Well, we want every couple, no matter what the age,
it doesn't matter.
to go home. We want you to talk about it. We want you to discuss it. We want you to pray about it. We want you to enjoy your life, enjoy your marriage.
We want you to
in every So, yeah, why not?
That's what we are. So, but it's true. I mean, there's a lot of, you don't get to talk about this kind of thing at church very often. It's like, so how was church? Really good. Let me tell you what the sermon was about. No, probably not. So, but it is important. These are the things that we do need to talk about. And if you do feel uncomfortable, I apologize. But you know what? It has to be talked about. We don't want you to have the wrong impressions. And if you're getting your impressions from someplace else, it very well could mean that you're getting wrong impressions.
And when they talked about comparison as a thief of joy, that is true. Because sometimes, and we've been around this earth for a little while now, and there's younger couples. Sometimes, as a young woman, I can remember talking to my girlfriends, and sometimes, I don't know about men, but women can share. They're very detailed. They're like,
wow.
Well, I wasn't a Christian, at the moment.
Well, I bet you Christian women do it too.
Well, yeah, but the problem with that is that you may have a girlfriend who's telling you about how wonderful her bedroom is, and how, it happens all the time, and your marriage may not look like that. So then you allow the enemy to come in and plant a seed where you start comparing, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with our situation? And that's why we started off by saying your marriage is different and unique in every aspect, in every area. Don't compare, don't beat yourself up or your spouse up.
No, because that will cause even more problems.
Absolutely.
So don't base it on what other people are doing. You worry about your situation.
Yes.
Okay? But let me ask you, in your own words, what does it mean to honor your marriage bed? What does it look like in practical terms? And how is a marriage bed dishonored? So let's start with the first part. What does it mean to honor your marriage bed? Yes.
Husband and wife only.
Husband and wife only? That's a good start. Some of you are freaks, man.
Some of us have children that fall into bed.
Okay, yeah, you can't do that in front of your kids. You'll mess up your kids. What is Daddy doing to Mommy? That's where I get my milk from. What are you doing? What else? Yes. Purity. Okay. What else? Yes.
For me, keeping the marriage bed undefiled means that I have to be okay with what, as a child of God, with what happens there, that it does not offend God.
Okay, that's good.
I have to be okay with that.
That's good. What else? Yes.
Be shameless and you don't want to make people cry.
Okay, that's good. At the same time, how is it dishonored? Victor.
When you start imitating the worldly people and how they feel about sex.
Okay. All right. I hesitate, Frank, but go ahead.
I was going to say fantasizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say something, but I think I've scared most of you already. No, look. I mean, if you have a fantasy, it's kind of like what he said in the video. You go from this mental picture of fantasy fantasy, but when you are able to undefile your bedroom, then there's a good possibility that those fantasies will be recognized in a pure way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you've got this thing, I mean, we all know we can talk about it, and I don't want to, you know, but, you know, you got this thing about, you know, let's say your man works behind your desk all the time, and he looks nice in a suit and all that, but, man, you just got this thing for construction workers, and you know, you just like, you want to see the jeans and work boots and a six-pack, you know, and you can buy six-packs that go up on your belly, but, you know, you share that with him, maybe he's going to dress up like a construction worker for you. Or the vice versa. Maybe, you know, you're turned on by a nurse's outfit and you tell your wife, can you wear a nurse's outfit? And then she hits you upside the head and says, no. You know, But it's better to talk about these kind of things than to let that work in your head. You know what I'm saying? Some of you are getting ideas right now. I can tell. I seen like two people going whisper in the person's ear.
And it's like, it's no different than in anything else in a relationship. You cannot do anything that violates your conscience or your spouse's conscience.
Absolutely.
You need to be in agreement.
Absolutely.
This is why premarital counseling is so important for young people, because they need to talk about this.
And sex is something that you need to talk about.
Because what's
before you
okay
get
for
married.
Susie may not be okay for Mary.
That's
they're
right.
both Christian and they're both saved.
That's right.
So these are things that need to be talked about.
That's right. And you have to be okay with the fact that your spouse is not comfortable with something. You know, and you have to respect their wishes. You know. So I know that we're not getting through the lesson, but I think that the conversation, I don't know, even though it's me and Claudine having a conversation, but I want to know if you guys, is there something that comes to your mind that you question? Is there something that you want to know about that coincides with the lesson?